Right, okay, let's get some more now on FIFA President Gianni Infantino, who once again has been creating the headlines as he suggests that the footballing world must become more open-minded and that the 2034 World Cup may be another winter tournament. Our chief correspondent, I'll give you a proper title, Kaveh Solokul, has been looking at his comments in more detail this afternoon. Back again in the studio, can't get enough of it today. In and out more than the hokey cokey today, should just stay there. Right, let's talk about these comments then. He said some interesting and controversial things over the last few years as Mr. Infantino. What does he mean here? That football needs to have an open mind when it comes to the World Cup?
I think he's floating the possibility of the World Cup being always held in the winter. Of course, we've become used to the World Cup being held in the summer, apart from 2022 in Qatar, when because of the summer heat in the Gulf region, the World Cup was held in November and December. Now, everybody knows that the World Cup in 2034 is also being held in Saudi Arabia. People know how hot it is in Saudi Arabia in the summer. So that tournament is also likely to be in November, December 2034, or maybe even in January 2035. But the background to Infantino's comments is the fact that the international match calendar, which governs when all leagues and competitions and international tournaments are held, that has been agreed until 2030. But negotiations are underway about what the international match calendar will look like after 2030. And it looks like Gianni Infantino is just floating the idea of perhaps it would be best to have World Cups in the winter, and that would free up June for more club tournaments. Club tournaments, for instance, like the Club World Cup, which FIFA has just launched. His exact words were, maybe there are ways we can optimize the calendar. We're discussing it. We have to have an open mind. An open mind. An open mind, does that mean permanent Winter World Cups? I'm not sure.
And does that also potentially mean more Club World Cups in the summer?
Absolutely. I mean, Gianni Infantino, the Club World Cup is really his baby. Expanded, new tournament. The first one was held in the United States this summer. Chelsea won that, 32 teams. It lasted a whole month. But of course, it was very, very controversial because it was held in June and July when really players normally should be resting before having a proper pre-season. But today, Gianni Infantino has basically been saying the sky is the limit for the Club World Cup. He said the Champions League, when it was launched, generated revenue of £35 million. It now generates revenue of £3.5 billion a season. And he said the Club World Cup, the first one, generated £1.7 billion. And he said in 30 years, it could generate £173 billion. Wow. Now, I'm not sure if he's been serious or that is hyperbole. I looked up the dictionary definition of hyperbole, and it is exaggerated statements not meant to be taken literally. So I'm not sure if he wants us to take that literally, but what the FIFA president is saying is that the Club World Cup, he believes, in 30 years' time, could generate as much as £173 billion. And his evidence for that is by saying the first Club World Cup this summer, he believes was a huge success. He says more than 2.5 million fans attended games. He said there was an average attendance of around 40,000 per game. There was $1 billion prize pot. And for instance, Chelsea, who won the tournament, ended up making around £90 million. So it sounds like Gianni Infantino wants to expand the Club World Cup, maybe have even more Club World Cups, have it every 2 years instead of every 4 years. If that is to happen, it could only happen, of course, after 2030, because the international match calendar has been agreed until then.
Will be worked out. Man United Wandaway will get his wish in January after manager's admission. One Football Steady News. Will be worked out. Man United Wandaway will get his wish in January after manager's admission. Manchester United striker Joshua Zirkzee is seeking a way out of Old Trafford in January in the hopes of rescuing his World Cup hopes. The Dutchman has been playing for the Red Devils since completing a £36.5 million transfer from Bologna in the summer of 2024. While he wasn't able to replicate his goal-scoring stats in his first season in England, Manu managed to win the respect and appreciation of his manager, Ruben Amorim, as well as the fanbase, albeit after an unsavory incident that saw him cheered off the pitch by the Old Trafford home supporters in late December. Joshua Zirkzee told he must leave Man United to fight for World Cup berth this season. The 24-year-old has been struggling for playing time following the arrivals of Benjamin Sesko, Brian Mbeumo, and Mateus Cunha. He has only collected 83 minutes across all competitions, and he has yet to start a match. Therefore, TBR chief correspondent Graham Bailey reveals how the striker's lack of playing time has been hampering his World Cup chances. The source reveals that the Netherlands manager, Ronald Koeman, has informed Zirkzee about his desire to reinstate him into the squad, but only if he's able to play a prominent role at club level. Hence, the former Bayern Munich man has asked Man United to grant him leave in January if his situation under Amorim doesn't change in the coming weeks or months. Interestingly, the club's officials are seemingly willing to cooperate. I am told that Zirkzee has had conversations with United and they are aware of his situation. He wants to go to the World Cup finals, but he won't given the current status quo, revealed Bailey. That means a move, and that will be worked out before January. Zirkzee has admirers in Serie A, especially Roma. Luckily for the striker, he still has a host of suitors on the continent, especially in Serie A, as his exploits with Bologna remain fresh in the mind. As reported earlier today by La Gazzetta dello Sport, Roma are interested in signing Zirkzee, as their new manager, Gian Piero Gasparini, has been keen to work with the versatile attacker since his time at Newcastle United. Have heard that Manchester United could come after Eddie Howe should Ruben Amorim lose his job this season. One Football Sports View. Newcastle United have heard that Manchester United could come for manager Eddie Howe should Ruben Amorim lose his job this season. According to the Telegraph. As a result, Newcastle's owners are all the more determined to give Howe what he wants in order to prove to him that his long-term future remains at the St. James Park club. The Magpies are closing in on the appointment of Ross Wilson as their new sporting director, with their manager recommending the Nottingham Forest chief. While Paul Mitchell and Howe had a fractious relationship at times, Wilson and Howe are expected to have a smooth working relationship as his appointment has been pushed by the Newcastle boss. The Magpies are protected from unwanted approaches by a multi-million-pound release clause in Howe's contract, but they know it will not stop the bigwigs from attempting to lure him away. Amorim is under pressure at Man United, and while the minority owner, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, says he will not be getting fired anytime soon, nothing is guaranteed in football. Howe had been on their radar at the Old Trafford club for a while following his impressive spells at Bournemouth and Newcastle. They could come calling should they part ways with the Portuguese this season. However, the Magpies' boss does not have any interest in leaving for a new challenge, and the club are ensuring he knows how important they see him. Newcastle won the Carabao Cup last season and are currently playing in the Champions League for the second time in the last 3 seasons. The Toons boss has been continually supported by the club owners and they are ready to keep doing so as they look to establish themselves as credible challengers across all competitions. While Man United remain one of the biggest clubs on the planet, Newcastle have been on the up in recent years and leaving them for the Red Devils no longer looks appealing.